To begin now. If you have any questions that you would like to ask during a session, you are welcome to pop them into the chat. I will come back periodically and check those and do my best to answer them for you. Anything that I can't answer today on the session, I'll follow up with you in the chat after the event, and that will be left open so that you can ask any questions of us too. So as I've said, today we are going to have a look at how we can use Flip, as it's now named. And this is part of a series of webinars where we're looking at either technology in the classroom or across the whole school, and Flip is definitely something that will benefit any community in school. It also promotes pupil voice, so we will consider all of those different uses as we go through the session. Before we delve into Flip today, just wanted to make you aware of where you can get the companion resources for today's session. Microsoft relaunched its education CPD hub, and it's called Microsoft Learn. You can find the link for that in the chat if you wish to visit it, and later on in this session we'll share with you a code that you can redeem to get achievement points and also accreditation for working through this module of Flip. If you haven't used it before, it's really easy. Click the link as we said in the chat. Once it opens up, you can sign in the top right hand corner using your Office 365 account. If you haven't signed in before, you'll just need to sign up, but it's only a few clicks. And then once you're signed in, what it will give you is a series of resources that can act as ongoing professional development for either you individually, or it might be that you're leading a strategy in school or you know colleagues that would benefit from it. It also provides a record as a log in your own personal experience and achievements that you've made. So therefore, you'll be able to then show those to anybody else and ensure that you've got an accurate history of all the CPD that you've completed. The other really positive aspect is that there's plenty to get your teeth into. You'll really soon understand that there are certain modules that will build up to get the first level of accreditation from Microsoft, and that's to become a Microsoft educator. And this webinar today also helps with achieving that, because learning Flip and what Flip can do is part of getting that accreditation. You can then go on and you can have a look at other aspects, such as how to use Teams or OneNote Class Notebook and so forth, and those will build up to you taking the assessment at the end to become a Microsoft educator. If you like that and you think it's a benefit to you, you can do Microsoft Advanced Educator, which is where you take a deeper look. In this year, it's focused around Teams, but also 21st century learning design and building those learning and skills. It is a skill set that's applied to any subject to be a successful learner, so building resilience, problem solving and so forth. And then if you want to, and you are responsible for bringing back whole school change, you can join the Microsoft Innovator Education Expert Community. And that's a program we also run at Turn It On. If you want to know more about that, you can go to the Turn It On website, and that's www.turniton.co.uk. We'll come back to Learn at the end, and I'll share a code with you where you can redeem it and learn, and you can get the accreditation for attending today's session. Let's move on to Flip itself. So Flip is a pretty agile platform. It can be used for any audience that you've got in school. But what we'll consider is how we get something into Flip and set it up. So we'll look at creating a group, and sometimes referred to as a grid, and then how to put topics into those groups, and then also how to get responses made for those topics that we've set inside of our groups. We'll look at the different communities that we can engage with, but we'll have a particular focus on pupils and students. Also consider how it can be used for assessment and feedback. And as I said at the beginning, you can ask any questions you would wish, and that's available by popping them in the chat. I'll come back and check those from time to time, but we'll get started. So with Flip, it was until before the summer holidays called Flipgrid. It got renamed and rebranded. It's an expanded version of Flipgrid now. It's got other features. They've really promoted and developed the mobile aspect, and that's really useful when you're using this in Key Stage 2 in primary, and certainly into secondary. I've seen SEN schools using this really successfully as well, where tablet devices and phones can really come in here in making your contribution to the community that's been set up. So the first thing you need to do is to create a Flip, and that is to make a group. Now, that could be organized in any way that makes sense to you for the context that you're facing. So in school, it could be that you're setting up a group to represent your class. It could be a subject you teach. It could be a particular learning community. Maybe you've got a club or an extension group for pupils. Maybe you've got an extra support group you want to set up so they've got a place they can go to and leave some commentary on there. Could also be for the staff as well. So it is pretty inclusive. It might be that you're bringing about some sort of change in school, and there isn't time to cover that in depth in a meeting, but what you'd like to do is give everybody the opportunity to contribute to that so they can leave a response to the group and the flip that's been set up. Or it could be wider whole school. You could be surveying parents, you could be engaging with governors, you could be linking with trust boards, and you could use this as well to get their comments, get their opinions, and for them to feed back. And one of the things that I would say from the beginning is that Flip is really simple and straightforward and easy to engage with, and doesn't take a lot of time to make your response or include your contribution. Once you've got a group, you then structure it with topics inside. I would say the easiest way to think of this is a bit like the group being a cardboard box, and it's absolutely empty until you put something inside of it. So you might stack some sort of product or containers inside of it. Well, the topics are those containers, and the topics contain the responses and the focus for what you've decided. So inside of our group, which will be for whichever audience we've decided, it might be that we're going to have a topic to stimulate discussion. It could be to promote debate. It might be that you pose a question or you want to explore an idea. It could be that you want to challenge and therefore that you want to just gauge people's responses in that way. It could be that you're going to celebrate something. It might be the anniversary of a school. It might be a certain group of pupils or students that have achieved something. It's also just thinking of the topic as the way to get people engaged, is to stimulate that conversation and that response. And really, it's open for whichever way that you wish to do that. It's completely your choice, and it will flex and adapt depending on the audience that you've chosen your group for. Once you've got your topic set up, a lot of people worry, well, am I going to lose control? Is this going to cause a safeguarding issue? How safe is it for the pupils and students that I'm working with? There's a high degree of customization, and we'll show you in real time in a minute how to set one of these up. But there's all sorts of restrictions where you can link it to your emails, you can set up passwords, you can also set up the degree of freedom that people can use to make their responses. And it does tie in with other areas of Office 365, but also additional platforms. And then once you've got all that going, it's just waiting for those responses to come in. And I'll show you some example responses when we get through the setup process. But the real positive now is that you don't have to be in front of a computer. It doesn't have to have a webcam. You can simply use the technology you have to hand. And if you've got pupils at home, one of the things that's readily available often is a mobile phone or sometimes a tablet device. It's not that they've always got a computer at their disposal. And it's really easy to then make that contribution, make that response, which then you can pick up in school in whichever platform and method that you see fit. So the first thing you need to do is get to Flipgrid and sign up. The sign up is painless because you can just use your Office 365 account. And then once you get in there, you can start to examine how you want to flesh it out and how you want to build it. So without any further delay, I'm going to jump over, and I'm also going to check the chat and see if there's any questions as I move over. There isn't currently, so I'm just going to move to the other window. I'm going to show you my web browser and just talk to you about how to get in, how to set this up, and how to get going. So the first thing you'll need to do is be logged in the same browser in Office 365. If that's not something you've often done previously, then you simply need to open up a browser. And today I'm using the Edge browser from Microsoft, but you can use Google Chrome, you can use Firefox. The one that doesn't work is the old browser from Microsoft, Internet Explorer. That's not been supported for quite a while now, and it won't work very nicely. But in the address bar, go to www.office.com, and then you sign in with your account, which is your email address for Office 365 that you probably use to get to your Outlook emails, and your password. Once you get signed in, you're either going to drop straight into your Outlook emails, which might look a bit like this, or you are going to end up on the landing page, which is the one I started showing you. And on that landing page, you've got the choice of where to go. So you go to the app launcher, and I have pinned Flip in here. It's still named Flipgrid in the launcher. That will get changed at some point. Or you can go to all apps, and then you can scroll down and you can find things alphabetically. So you've got different options to come into here and use those linked platforms. Flipgrid or Flip comes in the others category because it's not one of the core parts of Office 365, but it is firmly linked with other apps in Office 365 and it's owned by Microsoft. It's just not there as a default. If you want to pin it, you can click the three dots on the side. Mine's already pinned, so it says unpinned, but you would have the option to pin it in, and then you'll always have it there as one of your frequently used apps. So it's something you start to use with a class or a certain audience in school. So if we go into Flip, when you first get there, it will come to this page. You've got two options. You can either click the button in the top right hand corner that's like a couple of people, and you can have a join code. You can also use QR join codes, and if you've got a camera enabled device, you then hover over it and it will then get the QR code and it will take you straight in. That's really useful for around the classroom to get pupils to be independent in learning. They can walk around. If you've got camera enabled devices, they can scan the QR code and they're straight in. There's none of that typing or opening up a tab and getting distracted by anything else. It's just very quick, very easy. And when I'm teaching, I tend to use QR codes more and more these days, not just for Flip, but for various other aspects of Office 365. If you haven't got a QR code, you can give join codes. Those join codes can be shared in other platforms such as Teams, because it all links together. Or if you are a member of staff and you want to do this first time, you can sign up or log in. So if you want to log in because you don't need to sign up because you already have an Office 365 account, click login. But Microsoft have really thrown the doors open here with Flip. You can log in with your Microsoft account. If you are a Google school, you can log in with your Google Workspace account. If you're an Apple user, you can log in with an Apple ID. If you don't have one of those, you can sign in with a completely different address and you can still go to the bottom and sign up there. So the setup is something that's quite quick and easy, but it links to what you've already got, which is an Office 365 account, because most people that attend these trainings would be coming from a school that have an Office 365 tenancy. In other words, you have an Office 365 for your school. Once you're signed in, I'm just going to switch over web browsers. It will drop you onto a page, and that page will be a logged in window. Now, the logged in window will look fairly sparse if you've never used it before, but mine's a bit more populated because I've created a few different flips and I've got grids in there with groups and topics. So here, as a user that's been engaging with it for a little while, I can see all my different groups stacked up there. You've got options to control it. So what you can easily do is go back in and edit a group, and we'll show you that after we've created one. You can share pretty easily. So you click the share button. There is the button to get a QR code generated. You can also get links. So the links are there, but you don't have to have the random characters. You can have a meaningful link, and then you can use it to embed in websites. You can tweet with it, or you can move it across to Google Classroom as well if you're a Google Workspace school. So it's not wedded so much to Office 365 as other Microsoft products. But what we'll do for you here today is show you how to do the group, and then we'll come back and look at some of the other options we've got here on the front. So you click group, and then you've either got the option to join a group. If someone else in the school has already created a group, it might be that you've got a colleague, maybe you are two-form entry and you want to just join another class because they're from the same age group or the same subject that you're looking at, whichever one you want it to be. But today we'll go on making a group from the beginning. So you have to select the type of group that you've got. Most of the time in school is going to be a class group because you're doing this with pupils or students. But you can do it for other organisations. So if you've got an after-school club, maybe it's a science club, sports club. If you've got a PTA, they can use this as well for friends and family. That comes under there. If you're doing a particular event and you want to use it for capturing maybe responses after the event so people can feedback what it was like or celebrate what they achieved, there's loads of different purposes in here. Or you can just go for a blank canvas and customize everything to create your own if you don't want to use one of those templates. I'm going to pick the classroom option today because I'm going to make a mock classroom group and then topics, but it's up to you which one you choose. There's certain customizations on it. It will not take away options because you've still got all the options, but it sets some of the defaults so you don't have to go through and click everything and select it each time you set it up. Here, I'm going to say that I'm aiming for a secondary school. It will talk about US educational phases, but you can look from the ages and understand what ages you're going to have. So I'm going to say it's a secondary school. I'm going to click next. And after I've clicked next, I need to create my group. So this group might be Coding Club, and we're going to set this up as an after school club. Don't like that theme, so I'm going to see if there's anything else more suitable. You can filter through, or you can have featured. So what I might do is, look, I'm just going to say that technology is going to be that one there. We'll have what looks like a very abstract set of cables or something like that. You can at this point invite members directly, or you can add them afterwards. So you can do that by sharing the link and they will then add themselves. And that's the option that's showing for you at the beginning. But we're talking about keeping the pupils and students that we have safe at the same time. So if it's with adults, usually there's no problem with anyone joins the link, unless you know that you're going to get other adults that are going to come in and create issues for you. So the other option is to approve people and let them in as you give them access. Always with pupils in primary schools or students in secondary schools, I keep it on only approved people, and then I've got complete control as the teacher of the class. What you can also do is you can email, and you can use email addresses. So you can type email addresses in there. Now you can do that individually, or you can upload on a CSV spreadsheet to do them all at once. And you get the template out first by pressing the template download button, and you re-upload. So if you're doing a bulk batch, that will come in. At the moment, I haven't seen a sync tool that will link with your MIS system to bring in users in one go, like other aspects of Office 365. But that is the best way to do it on bulk. If you've just got a few people, you can just put in their email addresses there. You've also got the ability to link out with Google Classroom, but you'll just need to sign in with your Google Workspace address if you're going to continue in that way. So as it is currently, I am not going to invite anyone via their email address, but I am going to leave it. I'm going to approve people instead. So I'll create my group, and that will happen quite quickly. So I could invite people to the whole group. If so, I instantly got the share links here, and you can change that it's only people that are approved to join. You can make it open again, it's up to you, but you've got the option to bring them in there. If I then get out of that pop-up window that's just come up, and then what I've got here is I'm looking at this from a teacher perspective. I'm not looking at this from a student or someone that's coming in to use this. If you want to see what it looks like as member view, you can click on member view, and then you'll see the other side of the coin. This is what it looks like if you're looking at it from somebody who's been invited to join. At the moment, there's just a general topic there, and I've got the group header, but nothing else. It tells them that I own it, but there's been 0 responses in the way of videos. So if you always want to get that other perspective, you can. If you want to change anything and you've thought, you know what, it's just not as I wanted it to be, you can always come back up here. You can re-edit the group. You can also add a colleague if you want to co-author the group. And that's really handy if you are doing something collaborative. Maybe there's 2 of you leading a various aspect of something. It doesn't have to be just you in isolation. You've got complete control. You can delete the group. If you've set it up as a bit of a template, you can duplicate it. So you leave the original untouched and then start to amend the other one. But you've also got the Teams integration there, or you can just get the share link and post it into your Teams. We've got training sessions coming up on Teams, so I'm not going to labor Teams too much. At the end of it, if you want to get your data out, it's not stuck in here, you can export it and it comes out as a spreadsheet, and then you could delete the group anyway. So here we are with one topic, and it's always a general topic that's created by default because there has to be a topic within the group for the group to exist. So if you want to make a topic, it's the plus button on the side. So the topic is going to be the thing that's going to stimulate the response. So in here, it might be that I just want to get some idea with the pupils and students I'm working with, what's their favorite coding platform to use. So it might be code of choice, let's put it as that. And my starter discussion was, please explain which coding platform you are interested in learning. There we go. So that's in there quite simply. I've got all my simple editing tools at the top there. And down here, I can add in some media. So if I wanted to branch out and I want to import an image, I can do that from my computer. Also, if I wanted to record a video, I can go straight into a video recording tool where it will use the webcam and the microphone on my device. I can add in emojis and giffies and all sorts. They are filtered somewhat, and they're not anything that's going to cause offense. But you've got other banks that you can sign into there as well. You can upload a video if you've recorded it elsewhere, or you've got content from elsewhere. If your filtering allows, and it's worth testing that in advance, you can pull in YouTube or Vimeo videos. Or what you can do is integrate with other Office 365 apps. So if you've got content in another app, so if it was, let's say, Stream, where you might have a video library, you could integrate Stream into here. You can also add attachments. So if you want to have an attachment and link it to a website, maybe it's a website about coding, you can give it a title, you can give the website, and it adds in there. The other thing you need to decide at this stage is how long you want their responses to be. So a minute 30 is quite good, but if you've got someone that's got a dodgy broadband connection and it's really hard for them to upload video content, the video content still has to go from the device uploaded through the internet. I tend to find greater success at 1 minute, but also it makes people focus and be concise with their response instead of rambling on for too long and maybe not getting to the point. So they can always retake it. They're not wedded to a single chance, but 1 minute tends to bring that focus in there. So I can at that point post my topic. I can save my changes to be a default. But in here, I've got additional settings, and those additional settings will allow me a further degree of control. I can set it as active straight away, or I can have it as view only, so people can look at it but can't do anything with it, or I can have it hidden so I can see it, but other people will have absolutely no awareness if they've been invited to join the group. One of the other things that I can do is I can set a start date. So it could be open today, and then I can set an end date. So I might say I want this to be open for approximately a month, and we'll close it on Friday, the 28th of October. My recording time is 1 minute. I can have closed captions, so I want that to be in English because that's the country I'm working from. I've got a choice here. It can be just a video, or you can have comments in videos, so they can comment on their own videos or they can comment on others' videos. If you think that's going to be a nightmare to police, what you can do is say video comments only, text comments only, or none, so you've got a degree of control there. You can also moderate videos and comments so that they don't just come up for everyone to view. If you slide that across, you need to have a look at them first and approve them and release them. But if there's anything there that's inappropriate or is going to cause offense, you've caught it in a safety net before it goes live for other people and students to see, or parents, whoever your target audience is. I tend to, if I'm doing this with a group for the first few times, leave that on until I know that I've got that level of trust and understanding that I'm working with them. Or if I know I might have a character that I'm working with who might try to push their luck. The other thing in here with responses, you can allow attachment links or disable that. You can also allow people to download their videos and share. Again, for safeguarding and to avoid it going onto other social media platforms, I normally disable that one to keep it here in Flip. You can also allow them to see the view. You can allow them to see likes. And I'm probably going to say today, I'm going to not allow attachment links. And then the camera, you can say with the camera, you've got a degree of what you can do in the way of creativity. So you can just say, look, it's essentials only, or I'm going to allow them to put sticky notes in. I'm going to allow them to have giffies, filters, and lenses. So filters that go over the top, backdrops behind them, and so forth. But if I just want the absolute bare essentials, I can toggle those to off, and then they can still leave their video. They've still got some stickers and frames they can put on, but they don't get distracted, or they don't use those other elements. So I'm going to say I don't want expressions, but I will have sticky notes on. And then The final option is, as another layer of protection, I could have a password, and I could share that password in my team. But unless someone knows the password, even if they can see the topic, they still can't get in and see the video responses left by others. Because I know I'm doing this in the end with email addresses from inside the school, I'm going to make sure that that one is off, but you've got that there if you do want to use it. It's an option for you. So now I've decided up here my settings, I've got my details logged in. I'm just going to post my topic, and you can have as many topics as you want. So there's my link. I can also send that link out that way. When you're ready to go, you click all set, and then I'm now inside my topic. If some people see this first time and they go, oh, I've lost my group, you haven't. Your group is back here. If you click on your groups, there's Coding Club, so you can go into Coding Club. Here in Coding Club, I've just got the general channel. I don't want that anymore. That's there by default. So I can tick that, go to the dots on the side, and I want to delete that topic. I do want to permanently delete that topic, so that's gone. So that just leaves my coding of choice. And what I can do then is I can move it if I want to another group, or I can move it to another grid altogether. I can delete it and export my data. But if I go back into that, at the moment it's looking a bit sparse, so I might go in and edit my topic and just do something like give it a picture or make it look more appealing, and that's done by the media down there. Or I might say, look, no, I'm happy with that. I need to get this out in a rush. We're just going to have to go without something that's bright and appealing. Where you've got your topic here, it's scheduled for release. So my schedule is it's going to go live today. Once it goes live, you'll then be able to come in here as somebody that's going to use it. There are other topics that we cover in the training sessions. There's one using accessibility tools, but what Microsoft's done is it's brought Immersive Reader in. If this text is too dense, or it's going to be a barrier to being successful in what you want those pupils and students to do, Immersive Reader is here inside of Flip, so you can toggle on Immersive Reader and it will strip away all the busyness. But what you've got then is a reader that will read to you, and you've also got other options such as you can change font sizes. So you produce the Flip in the resource once, but they can choose to customize it, and this would apply to the individual, not everybody. So they might have a visual impairment and need a green background, or they need a yellow background, and they can apply all of that. They can then access it or have it read to them, and when they're finished, they come out of the Immersive Reader, but they go in and they make their response. The member view, because I'm viewing this as somebody who's administrating it, it looks like this again. So if I let that member view just load up, it's there. And then when I want to make my video response, I click add video response. It will open up in the browser of the device I'm using. It will more than likely say, can I have permission to use your video camera and mic? And you have to accept that it does, otherwise you can't leave a response. And then after you've got your responses, they will stack up down here as videos. And I'll show you an example that's more fully populated and how that works. So if I go back to my groups, before I go through some of the other options in the groups, I'm just going to go back and check if there's any questions. Don't feel shy, do ask. If you've used Flip as well, I really would love to hear about how you've been doing that. So if you've got any experience of using it, any successes you've had, pop them in there as well. I'll just jump back over and continue on for now. You can decide if your group is active or hidden as well from the side here. So if you do want to get something hidden, you don't want that group to be seen, as well as the topics within it, you can hide it at group level, or you can hide it at topic level inside. I think we've probably covered all of the options there at the same time. So if I was going to go to something here where I can see the number of responses I've got, and there was an Office 365 Expedition section I've got here, it was around fictional space safari, and we're looking at different technology a couple of years ago. And I've got 3 responses in my space safari. So I'm going to go in there. My description in my space safari is a little bit more developed. I've given a website link here as one of my attachments to go to the planets. I've also made it visually more appealing. And then I've got people down here that have made responses. And you can decide whether it's only you as a teacher that sees these, or the pupils and the students, or the audience you're working with, if it's parents or the staff, so they can see each other. And you can pin if you want. So there's a response that's really useful, or you may leave an example response to model how you want that done for them. But if it was Steph, for example, who I've got her permission to use this, yeah, I would be able to go in and then listen to what Steph has said and think, well, is this useful? Have they missed the point? Is this going to enrich the other people's learning? Can I share? So it's another way as well to really usefully assess the way that learners are making progress within a subject or with you. It could be that you're going to use it for formative or summative assessment. So instead of it being that you set a test or you go around and you complete a piece of work and you grade that, or you have a book scrutiny, you could complete a series of work, a unit, whatever it is, and then set up a topic within your group, and your group might be for the entire year. It might be that the group is for English and you've been doing some spag work if you're from a primary school in the UK about spelling, punctuation and grammar, and you want them to explain a certain aspect. And what they can do is leave a video response and give you an example. Maybe is this space safari is maybe uses of commas or use of full stops or capital letters, whatever it is. Then they could leave you a video response, and then you can assess as the teacher whether that's a concrete understanding of that concept, or whether actually you need to go back and have a small group intervention, or whether you need to reteach it as a class as a whole. If it was an opinion such as you're proposing to change the catering arrangements of the school and you've made this available to anyone, and what you want to do is gauge parents' wishes for the type of food that's served and so forth, you could then get a very live set of responses from the parents and just get their opinions about which way they'd like to shape the food offering in school. So there's lots of different ways that you can do this. And Flip truly is a blank canvas and will meld and adopt itself to be whatever you'd like it to be. But you need to have a clear idea in the first place of who is the target audience, what is the main organization, the group, like the cardboard box analogy that we had at the beginning, and then how are we going to break that down inside to look at different areas. And it might be you've got an eco group for science and you're focusing on waste plastic one term, and then it might be reducing energy usage the next term. But you could have that with your science eco group throughout the year and build it up that way. And it's just a very small group of pupils that you're working with, a group of students. Any questions so far? No, nothing in the chat. One of the other things you can do is you can change from a grid view to a card view. So if you want to see them as almost thumbnails, you can swap that over. You've also got ways of filtering, so you can have all groups or groups that you lead or groups that you've joined. You can also filter down by searching groups, and you've always got your camera options up in the top right hand corner. The last area will be your account. So what you can do is you can build a profile, but in your account there are other elements that are really useful. Now, there used to be a platform a few years ago called Skype in the Classroom, but that was retired, and all of that content was brought into Flipgrid as it was at the time, but it's all now also still in Flip. So if you go to Discovery, what you've got in here is a curated set of topics, and you can search for the topics that are interesting you. So if it was with my science group, it might be global warming. I'm going to search for global warming, and what it will give me are different people that are working around the world on global warming. So I found 943 topics. So this takes the learning beyond your classroom and collects across the world to other communities, and you can start to see just an example of what type of community. Now, if you know you are working as a primary school and actually you don't want to have all those other different types of educational phases, you can filter it down so you've got people that are working at a similar educational phase. If you then want to filter it down further, you can then break it down by the organization that people have given you. So it might be just you want science, so it then take away all the other content and then it leaves me with science. So I'm down to things that I might want to link with. And then what I could do is climate change and penguins seems like something that might interest me. It's obviously being done with another school there in another country. I see that 13 people have used it, so I could click on that. I can have a read, and I can decide if that's something I want to use and add as a topic. And if I do want to add it as a topic, I click Add Topic, and it will bring it in. But what I can also see is where in the world it's being used, and just it links out with National Geographic. So there's that element there where you can discover what's going on, but there's also mixtapes as well. So you can take your content and you can remix it. Go to Learn About Mixtapes, which will open up a tab. So you need to create a mixtape, but what you can do then is take your videos and you can edit and remix. It also allows you to take topics and edit and remix. So it allows you to refresh it, or it can allow you to take multiple content from other responses and bring them in. Now, mixtapes is something that's more of an advanced feature. So if you're coming to Flip for the first time, I would just hold back on using mixtapes. I would go to Discovery first after you've mastered your own groups and topics, then into mixtapes. If you want to see what you've done in the way of achievements, there are achievements that can be unlocked with Flip. Those can be linked to the Microsoft Learn. So you can see that you can go into those different communities and get those badges, but you can also give back to the Flip community and help others at the same time. If you go in there, there's Grid Pals. Now, Grid Pals is the last area that's really useful to meet other people. It's having an update hissy fit this afternoon. If I go into Grid Pals, you can decide if you want to be hidden or active, but all these people that are turning up here are active, and you can find different Grid Pals in different countries, and then you can connect with other schools. And depending on where you are in the world, I think it looks like it's defaulted on America there. You can then scan around the world and find Flip Grid Pals in different countries. And then you can connect with them. So if I've homed in Europe there, you can connect with them, and it allows you to join with other schools. So you could get collaboration with other schools in a trust if you work that way, or collaboration with other schools that are in your area. And then what you can do is you can set up co-classroom learning opportunities between Flip. And that gives you a whole nother dynamic to work with pupils and teachers in other areas. And it might be you just want to link to another area of the UK, as I'm working from at the moment, or it might be you want to contact a school in another area globally that speaks a similar language, or you might want to use this for MFL, for instance, and you might want to connect with a school in France if your Flip and your grid and topic is all about speaking French and understanding more about French culture. So there's lots of different ways to do that. So Grid Pals is another really useful area where you can start to make a network of people that you work with, and you'll also find people that create really useful content there, and the same with Discovery. So as far as the introduction goes today, those are the areas we intended to show you. Just going to branch away from that presentation and jump back across to where we were previously. With Flipgrid as it was and Flip now, there are some really great courses on Microsoft Learn, and what I'll do is I'll post them afterwards. But the two best ones would be Engage and Amplify. With Flipgrid, it's still called Flipgrid in Learn. That will get updated, and it only was July, August time the name got changed. And then there's also Beyond Basics with Flipgrid. But both of those are in Learn and courses that you can get started on. And that's where I've based today's training upon. So I've borrowed heavily from those, and you'll also see a lot of the resources that are there. If you want to get any of the training decks, like the one I'm using today, if you go to flip.com, which is where you find Flip, there's a teacher resources section where you can download cards for introducing it to other colleagues. You can also download PowerPoint presentations like the one I'm using here. So all of that is available freely online, either from Learn or directly from flip.com. So you've got a choice either way. Now, we said with Learn that we would give you a code to redeem. So the code itself is on screen now, M7XJL5. If you are joining us after this session, don't worry, that code is remaining live, so you can still redeem that for any time afterwards. I'll also post that in the chat for anybody that wants to grab that and use that themselves, and also feel free to share that with colleagues. You're more than welcome to redeem that as many times as you like. There's no limit on that. What that looks like and how you redeem those codes is really straightforward. So once you are logged in the screenshot in the bottom left-hand corner, which is me logged in, where I have circled in yellow, it says redeem your code now. So you click that hyperlink, you'll get the little pop-up window, as you can see in the right-hand screenshot. And then the code I've given you, you simply paste it into there or type it into there, press redeem, and then you'll be given the appropriate experience points and achievements. And that will help to build your profile. So you've got that available to use for you at the same time. While you are busy doing that, we also are really keen to get feedback on the courses that we give you. So if you've enjoyed today and you would like to know any more about it, we would dearly love you to give us some feedback. It's 5 questions. It's simply asking you how you rate this session, but also what you might like to see in the future. I'll pop the link for that in there. If you also don't want to use links, I will give you the QR code for that. So if you've got a mobile phone or a tablet device with you at the moment, all you got to do is hold up to the screen and scan the QR code, and then it will take you straight into the survey. QR code's on screen now. We will also, after this session is finished, we will edit the recording ever so slightly, and then we'll make it available on our YouTube playlist. So the recording that you will see when this session ends is only available internally to turn on, because that's the way the Teams works. But the next day, or in the next couple of days, our team will then post you a link, and this discussion from today will remain in your chat history in your Teams. And you can go back and you can get the link to the YouTube recording, and then you can share that with any colleagues internally if you wish as well, or if you want to go back and revisit any elements of what we've covered today. The last thing to say is Turn It On is UK based, but we're solely educationally focused. And our mantra is to help schools, colleges, trusts make more of their technology they've got and bring it to life. It's not just a device in the corner or a platform you go to. So if you want any sort of assistance or help, as well as us being a global training partner with Microsoft, please do feel free to get in contact by emailing into office@turniton.co.uk.